It started with a sound no one was supposed to hear. Just a muffled voice, low and cracking, captured on an accidental recording. Or maybe it wasn't an accident at all. The voice belonged to Prince Harry. The words? Incomprehensible at first. But once decoded, once replayed, they left even hardened royal insiders in stunned silence. If William takes it all, I'll have nothing left except revenge. Not a joke. Not hyperbole. A moment of raw emotion that may have slipped past palace filters. Or maybe, finally, pushed straight through them. Now pause. Let that settle. This isn't some distant royal rivalry from years ago. It's not another echo from the Meghan and Harry media circus. This is new. It's unfolding now, and the stakes have never been higher. At the very center, a brotherhood that once symbolized resilience, now hanging by threads thinner than royal protocol will ever admit. So what happened? What could possibly bring a prince, once beloved by the world, to the edge of threatening the very institution he was born to protect? What forced Harry, the spare, the soldier, the smiling newlywed of yesteryear, to allegedly turn his anger on the one person who walked beside him through their mother's funeral? His brother, his blood, his battlefield confidant. Well, that's where things start to unravel. It begins with Meghan, as it so often does. But this time, not in the tabloids or on a red carpet. Behind closed doors, something reportedly collapsed. A silence overtook her. A medical emergency. An emotional fracture. Something real enough to trigger calls, hushed voices, and shifting schedules. But the palace? Silent. And then came Harry's reaction. A fury. A desperation. And maybe, something darker. You might be wondering, why is no one talking about this? Why haven't the mainstream media touched this leak? Why do royal correspondents suddenly shift the topic when asked about Harry's recent location? About his mental state? Because the monarchy operates like a submarine. Silence is survival. But once the hull starts cracking, once the pressure builds, secrets don't leak politely. They explode. And yet, even now, the palace clings to its old tools. Distance, ambiguity, carefully worded statements. William continues with engagements. King Charles gives speeches. But behind that calm exterior, palace sources whisper that a major decision has just been made. One that directly affects Meghan. A formal rejection. A total denial of what she once fought for. And Harry? He didn't take it well. In fact, according to one insider, he took it worse than anyone imagined. But what came next wasn't grief. It wasn't resignation. It was something far more dangerous. It was a move so personal, so emotional, that palace aides reportedly asked for armed surveillance to be reviewed, not for the public, but for William himself. What exactly did Harry say in that voicemail? And more importantly, what does it mean for Meghan Markle's future, now that the royal family has drawn the final line? Did Meghan Markle faint? Or did she finally break? It was meant to be a quiet evening. No appearances, no headlines, just a scheduled Zoom. Not public, not formal, but important. One of those family check-ins the palace tries to keep off the radar. But somewhere between a soft greeting and an icy exchange, something shifted. And what followed, we still don't fully understand. What we do know is this. Meghan didn't finish the call. She didn't even say goodbye. Within an hour, a private medical team was reportedly dispatched to the Montecito estate. No sirens. No flashing lights. Just two black SUVs, one marked as private delivery services, but known by some in the press to be covert medical transport. Inside the house, sources say Harry was pacing, yelling, punching his palm. And Meghan? On the floor. Not unconscious. Not entirely responsive either. Now, here's where the stories start diverging. One version, the sanitized one, says she suffered from exhaustion. Another? That she received devastating news moments before the call. A final word from King Charles, relayed through a royal aide, confirming what she feared. No title. Not now. Not ever. But there's a third version. One that suggests something far heavier. That Meghan had just learned about the decision concerning her children, Archie and Lilibet. That they too would be excluded from formal royal titles in the upcoming succession arrangements. Not a demotion. A full denial. That's the part she reportedly couldn't process. Because love her or hate her, Meghan built an identity on narrative, on control. And in one swift move, the monarchy may have stripped that control away. The Duchess title? Already gone. But the children? That was a different level. A different pain. And the timing? Haunting. Just weeks after Harry made overtures, quiet ones, toward reconciliation. Talks with Charles. Backchannels with Anne. A slow thaw. Some even believed Harry might be granted a ceremonial position again. But it came with a condition: silence. Disengagement from press deals. And Meghan, fading from public view. She agreed, reportedly. Reluctantly. But then this. The Zoom call. It was supposed to be confirmation. Instead, it was humiliation. A single sentence changed everything. We've decided the matter is closed. Not up for discussion. Not a negotiation. Just closed. And Meghan, reportedly holding a warm cup of tea when the words hit, dropped it. The ceramic shattered on the floor. She didn't scream. Didn't sob. Just froze. That's what one insider said. She froze. Then slowly, she folded to the ground like someone unplugged her from the world. Harry rushed in. But something about the way he looked at her, that's what stuck with the staffer. Not panic. Not fear. Fury. Like the kind of fury that simmers so deep, it doesn't shake. It stiffens. And that's when it all changed. Because Meghan collapsing wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. The next 24 hours would trigger a chain reaction, not only inside Harry's mind, but inside the royal family's most guarded circles. And it began with a message Harry sent just before sunrise. A message no one was ever supposed to hear. But what it said, and who it was meant for, would turn a private tragedy into a royal emergency. What does a prince sound like when he's alone, angry, and convinced no one is listening? The message wasn't intended for the public. It wasn't even meant for the palace. According to insiders, it was a private voicemail, a burst of emotion recorded and left on the phone of someone Harry trusted. Or thought he did. It was short, ragged, and nothing about it was rehearsed. That's what made it terrifying. Now, let's be clear, this wasn't a press release or some passive-aggressive interview soundbite. This wasn't the carefully modulated rage we've seen in books or documentaries. This was raw. A man whose wife had collapsed hours earlier, who'd reportedly just received confirmation that his children would be excluded from the very legacy he was born into, and who had, in that moment, nothing left to lose. The recording, described by a source who claims to have heard it firsthand, was only 47 seconds long. But in that short span, it may have detonated every fragile piece left between the brothers. It began with a pause, a breath, then Harry's voice. Hoarse, trembling, maybe from crying, maybe from something else. I gave them everything. And they still, a thud, something slamming against the surface. If William takes it all, if he walks away with the whole damn thing, I swear to God. Another breath. I'll end him. That's the line. No context. No explanation. No clarity. Just those 3 words. I'll end him. Now, people close to Harry argue he was speaking emotionally, figuratively, lashing out in pain, not issuing a threat. Not really. And in any other context, maybe that would have held. But not here. Because within 12 hours, royal security protocols were reportedly escalated. William's protective detail increased. Senior aides briefed. Not publicly, not even formally, but enough that someone, somewhere, took this seriously. And the palace? Silent. Not a single acknowledgement. Not a denial. Not even a no comment. Just cold, hard quiet, which, in royal language, is as loud as a siren. So who leaked the tape? No one will say. But it wasn't the tabloids. It wasn't even traditional press. It began as a whisper through palace corridors, then crossed into royal-adjacent media circles, then into hands that, well, let's just say discretion is not their strength. And still, no full version has surfaced. Just fragments, paraphrases, carefully described moments. But that line, I'll end him, it's hung in the air like a sword, suspended over everything that followed. And what's most disturbing? It wasn't said with rage. According to one person who heard it, it was said with calculation. Quietly, coldly, like someone who had moved past pleading, past grief, into something else entirely. But here's the twist. This voicemail wasn't the only thing Harry leaked that night. There was a second message, one far more strategic, one that didn't just express anger, it outlined a decision about Meghan, about the monarchy, and about the final title she would never, ever receive. What's worse, never being accepted, or believing you almost were. For Meghan Markle, the hope of redemption wasn't dead. Not entirely. Even after the exit. Even after the Netflix deals, the interviews, the tabloid storms, there were still whispers. Quiet, cautious ones. That Charles, ever the strategist, was softening. That the palace was, behind the scenes, negotiating a re-entry point. Not for full honors, not for working royal status, but for dignity. For legacy. For the children. Some thought a new title might be extended. Maybe something ceremonial. A patronage. A nod to goodwill. After all, Prince Andrew, disgraced, ostracized, still holds titles and name. So surely Meghan could receive something. But then came the verdict. Delivered not by letter. Not even face-to-face. But as part of a broader statement. Internally circulated among senior royal aides and intercepted, reportedly, by a staffer who couldn't stomach the coldness. The matter of titles pertaining to the Duchess of Sussex and her offspring is concluded. No future adjustments will be considered. That was the sentence. Deliberate, sterile, final. And for Meghan, who, according to one insider, had been quietly preparing a new children's foundation under a potential Duchess branding, it wasn't just rejection. It was erasure. Because the children, Archie and Lilibet, were the real focus. Stripped of the chance to hold formal royal titles. Denied the HRH styling that most royal grandchildren of a monarch automatically receive, unless, of course, someone steps in to block it. And someone did. The decision, sources claim, was not Charles alone. It was discussed, debated, and ultimately signed off by a small inner circle, including and William. Yes, William. The same brother who once shared cottage walls and late-night grief with Harry. The same brother now seen, in Harry's eyes, as the architect of this final exile. And that's where something inside Harry may have snapped. Because if this decision had come from Charles alone, there might have been room to plead. But William's name on that document? That, reportedly, is what Harry couldn't stomach. What followed was not a press release. It was an internal message Harry allegedly sent to 3 former friends of the palace. A message not meant for public consumption. But again, it leaked. The Crown has made its choice, Harry wrote. So have I. It was accompanied by 3 attachments. 1, a draft for a new media project. 2, an outline of Meghan's global identity strategy, a branding document, sharp, assertive, and, interestingly, stripped of all royal references. And 3, a handwritten note. Short, just 2 sentences. If she won't be their Duchess, she'll be their downfall. Mark my words. Not signed, but unmistakably Harry. This wasn't reconciliation. It was retribution, dressed in PR. And yet, as chilling as that statement was, it wasn't the most dangerous thing Harry planned to unleash. Because buried within one of those attachments was a line. A single, quiet line that triggered alarms in the highest levels of royal protection. Something that made the firm pause. That made King Charles summon advisors in the middle of the night. And that made Princess and reportedly utter the words, "He's not bluffing anymore." What does someone do when there's no title, no trust, and nothing left to protect? Harry's always been unpredictable. At least that's what royal watchers like to say. But that's too easy. Too clean. The truth is, his unpredictability is often just pain with poor timing. He reacts. And this time, his reaction wasn't a tantrum. It was a plan. After that fateful night, Meghan on the floor, the message leaked, the family turned cold. Harry didn't disappear. He didn't retreat into silence. He booked a meeting. Not with his father. Not even with William. But with a producer. A trusted source close to the streaming industry confirmed that within 72 hours of the palace decision, Harry initiated contact with an LA-based documentary team. Not just to vent. To outline a concept. Something raw. Something final. Not spare too. Not more polished PR. He wanted to talk about what they didn't let him say. The notes, reportedly seen by someone in pre-production, are chilling. Sections titled The Crown's Code of Silence, Threat Assessments, The Missing Years, and one oddly named Only, The Farm. No one seems to know what that last one refers to. But here's the detail that really stuck out. There's a 4th section. It's about the children. And in Harry's words, allegedly typed directly into the treatment, they were never safe. Not even when they were still just ideas. Ideas? It's a strange way to phrase it. Some thought it was poetic. Others weren't so sure. There are whispers, dangerous ones, that this project isn't just a tell-all. It's a line in the sand. One that, if crossed, might unravel threads the monarchy spent generations keeping tightly wound. And then there's Meghan. Absent, silent, removed from public events, removed even from most internal business dealings, as far as we know. The woman who once made headlines with every step suddenly nowhere. Some speculate it's strategy, a long game to reclaim narrative. Others believe it's distance. Real, growing distance. From Harry, because while he's gearing up for a war of words, she may be stepping back from the battlefield entirely. Not out of fear, but exhaustion. A kind of emotional withdrawal that comes when you've burned every bridge, and the only thing left standing is your own shadow. But Harry? Harry's still in motion. And the people